Hey guys, and I hope that everyone is well. So in this video, it's going to be a very quick video because there isn't much to it, but we're just going to explain what imbalance and what inefficiencies are. The reason why we need to know this is because our order blocks, which is obviously the next part of the strategy, creates this imbalance. And now obviously when we mention imbalances, you need to be aware of what it is. We won't necessarily trade it, but we'll use this to understand what's the best way to explain what actually happens in the market, because the whole purpose of understanding order blocks and smart money concepts is that there is a reason for every single pullback or every single move there is in the market, because price price is fractal. Okay, it goes to certain areas because there's a reason why, and we're going to decipher and understand why price comes back to certain areas and why it doesn't. So understanding what inefficiency and imbalance is, it's very simple. So at any given point in the market, there are people buying and there are people selling, right? So at any given point, there are points where people are buying and people are selling, and this is at 50-50 ratio wise. So as in there are 50% buying and 50% selling. However, sometimes when you get impulses, as you can see like here or here or even there, you only get, so here between from here to here, all we have is pure selling, because obviously my black candles are the bearish candles, and as you can see, no one is buying. Okay, especially in this region here. Okay, there's no wicks interrupting it, in saying that there is any buying. Now when you get a blank space like this, okay, that's called an inefficiency, and what that essentially means is that this is where pure selling is. However, the market cannot let that happen, which means that price needs to come back, which is probably actually doing at this point. Price needs to come back and mitigate and basically correct the imbalance. So inefficiency imbalance is the same thing. So we don't need to confuse ourselves. I prefer to call it inefficiencies, but it's up to you what you want to call it. So understanding what actually causes this is an order block, right? So our order block is actually obviously that candle there, which we'll understand a bit more in the next video, but that's our order block and that's what caused the impulse. Okay, when you do get an impulse like this, I'll always talk about an order block causing inefficiencies. This is what I mean by that. Okay, and what we can see, for example, here, okay, price obviously had a bearish move and it broke structure and it has come from an order block. However, we are in a irrespective of the trend at the moment. So let me just hide everything for now. So let me just hide this bit from here. So if you just focus on this section here, yeah? Right, so what we can see is obviously we had a bearish move, and that order block has created inefficiencies and imbalances. So what does price have to do? So assuming that this is a bearish trend, so let me actually get rid of it a bit more. Assuming we're in a bearish trend, okay, sometimes you actually do get candles, sometimes you do get moves where you get a break of structure, price comes back to an inefficiency level and then carries on going. Like for example, this candle can just carry on going and break structure again. Obviously we know they didn't because I just got rid of all the candles because I want to focus on what's happening here. But what we can see is before obviously price carried on going up, price actually came back, fixed the imbalance, and then came back to where it needs to come. Okay, because it's probably creating another order block which is here and waiting to break structure. Okay, so let me just let this play out and we'll see what happens. Yeah, is exactly what happened. This candle actually did everything. It broke structure, and well, it didn't really break structure, but it's wicked both structures here. But what we're trying to understand is that price always needs to come back to areas of imbalance and inefficiency. Okay, which is obviously here, and that's what price has done. So we'll look at it again. We can see that let's see where price actually reacts to one. That'd be a clearer one. The main reason that why we need to know this is because when we want to try and find out what a strong order block is, we need to try and understand um, what type of reaction that order block has created. Because if it's created like several inefficiencies along the way, that sort of tells us, okay, this is a strong order block. Whereas if you get like a break structure from a very small move like this, I wouldn't say that's a strong order block. Okay, so it's understanding a bit more about what's actually happening in the market. And sometimes when you do get moves, for example, if you do get stopped out of a trade, and you think that, oh sorry, I got rid of the wrong thing. And sometimes you think, okay, like why has price done that? Why has it gone? Why has it gone there? Like for example, say you're in a trade and you're like this, and you're in a sell, and then obviously prices have come back and broken. It's probably because there's an inefficiency. Now I'm not saying in this example there is, but it's because it could be because there's an inefficiency. So if you are stopped out in the strategy, there's obviously a reason. There's always a reason why price goes where it is, and this is probably a reason. For example, here we've got an inefficiency level. Now what we can see here, to how to mark out your inefficiency, is we can see that there's pure selling going on here. However, there's two wicks that cover. Okay, that means in this point there's obviously buyers and sellers in this point, and there's buyers and sellers in this point. However, in this region there's only sellers. Okay, so price needs to come back and react to this level or do something. It just needs to correct the imbalance, so price needs to come back. Okay, we aren't going to trade the inefficiency on its own. Some people do. I personally don't, purely because I don't feel there's any actual structure there. I prefer to have an order block which creates the inefficiency. So I'll rather prefer like having an inefficiency as we have here. Again, we got pure selling here, but we got pure selling here, and obviously this wick sort of it mitigates what's happening in this candle. Again, there's an order block, so I'll rather wait for having inefficiencies around an order block, and that's what makes up my order block area strong. So understanding imbalance and inefficiency is a very easy concept. Essentially, it's just an impulse move that creates candles of one kind, either bearish or bullish, and price needs to come back and correct the imbalance. So at any given point, so quick summary, at any given point there are 50% buying and there's 50% selling, and price needs to, if there is any point where there's 100% selling and 100% buying, price needs to come back and mitigate or correct the imbalance before doing what it's going to do in the first place, and that is most likely going to react to an order block.